With recent trade rumors popping up around Josh Giddey, from Minnesota being interested to the Phoenix Suns also having an interest in Josh Giddey, we're going to talk about what the future of Josh Giddey is for this team and why the trade interest reportedly from these other teams is weak enough, but why Josh Giddey is not going to be traded yet. And we're going to talk about what Josh Giddey also needs to do if he wants his long-term future to stay with the Chicago Bulls. We're going to separate fact from fiction in regards to that. We're also look at other draft sleepers for the Chicago Bulls in this draft and what they can do. And we're going to talk about what the Chicago Bulls could do for their guard position in free agency if need be this upcoming offseason. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into this content for today, y'all. And before we get started, though, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Got a goal to get into 50,000 subscribers by the start of the 2026-27 season. And we can only do that with your help. About 42% of you guys that watch the channel every single day are not subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. In exchange for that, I'll be giving you guys the best daily Bulls content that you're going to find anywhere on the internet. With that said, let's go ahead and now officially get into it. So the Josh Giddey trade stuff has left a lot of conversation for Bulls fans around the speculation of Josh Giddey's future. Now, I want to be clear here, right? I've said this to you guys before. I'm going to say it again, is that right now, the Chicago Bulls are not shopping Josh Giddey. Teams registering interest does not mean that the Chicago Bulls are shopping Josh Giddey, and they're not going to yet. The Josh Giddey is going to go through the evaluation process. And while I know there is a segment of the fan base that wants to see Josh Giddey moved this offseason, some that have even convinced themselves, we can get two, like I was in a conversation with somebody yesterday, you can get 2 first-round picks for Josh Giddey right now. Come on now. Like he's coming off ankle surgery, of course, and this isn't just because of Josh Giddey's play or anything. It's the fact that he's coming off surgery and the fact that he's on the Chicago Bulls. He had an injury-plagued season last year, and while he started off on fire, there was that long stretch where he was kind of questionable after the injury, and then he got – like, you're not getting 2 first-round picks in the deepest draft in the last at least 5-6 years, if not longer than that, for Josh Giddey. Y'all got to stop trying to convince yourselves of stuff that's not real. But the question becomes about this, if you want to have a realistic conversation, is A, there's clearly some level of interest from teams around the NBA. Even with the reports that teams have made calls or done their background research on Josh Giddey, it means that there is some level of interest with that. And so the question becomes about 2 things for Josh Giddey. One, he's going to have an opportunity, much like everybody on this team, to be evaluated and to see how he looks under Tiago Splitter, and also what the new roster build is eventually going to take. Like, and by that, I don't just mean Slap. Everybody, if you're using Slap as the reason why the Bulls are going to trade Josh Giddey, you are not listening to the words of the man, Bryson Graham himself, when he said that you don't have to fit Slap to be a good player for them, right? And so it comes down to then how Josh Giddey looks under Tiago Splitter, and also what the roster build going forward is and what they feel is the best path forward with the players that they do decide that they will. You have 4 levels of players in the NBA. You have players you build around, you have players that you build with, you have supplementary role players that fill that role of things that your players that you're building with or building around are missing, and then you just have back end of the bench players, right? It's a subset of role player. That's really it, right? And so, it's up to Josh Giddey to prove, hey, I'm somebody that you build with and that's worth building with continually, or he proves that he's somebody that you build around, right? And the build with part could just come from the chemistry that he has with players. And I think he's going to get the reason why, basketball-wise, Josh Giddey's going to get an opportunity. And I understand and hear all the things of Josh Giddey's offense isn't the sexiest. It's not. Sometimes it looks downright awkward. And I've said that. He's effective at doing it a lot of times, but it's not the prettiest. And for people that are more surface level, that matters to them, right? But what he does bring as far as in creation in both the fast break and the half court, and for those that have said that Josh Giddey only creates in the fast break, I need y'all to go and do better research and look at Josh Giddey's half-court creation numbers. He's actually really good at creating in the half-court. Like I said, he's only second to Jokic in creation in the half-court. So this now narrative that has popped up that Josh Giddey's only a merchant based off the pace of the Bulls to play with is just false and inaccurate. And that's just inaccurate based off what we've seen both in OKC and here. And I think also people that are using just the excuse, well, OKC got rid of him and they won a title. OKC could have won a title regardless. And keep in mind, their cold shooting is what really in that series. Josh Giddey, yes, he wasn't a great off-ball shooter. He's not great now. He's improved it. But at the same time, his ability to create helped them in the series before that, before they got eliminated in his last series with that, because, it's the open shots that he created for Shea and Jalen Williams went in 37 and 38% instead of 27 and 26% in the following series. So it's there. In the short term, Josh Giddey's not being shot right now. The long term is the question here. And it's a dual question on not only how they feel about Josh Giddey and his future with the Bulls, but also is a team offering something you feel like you just can't pass up on? And that's the part in this as well. So, as much as I talk about the people that are pro-trade Josh Giddey, the people that are anti-trade Josh Giddey that say, well, why would you want to trade a good player? Because you actually want something back, right? Like, if you are going to trade Josh Giddey, it's going to be because the value is something that has made it worth you moving it off of that investment. And that's just the reality of it. People are like, well, he's on a cheap contract. That's another reason why you may get more back if you were to trade Josh Giddey. Now, the Bulls aren't looking. But like I said a couple of episodes ago, could that change at the trade deadline? Maybe. Could that change by the end of this upcoming season? After a full year of evaluation, when Thiago and Bryson Graham sit down next summer and decide what they want to do with the roster going forward, yes, there's a possibility. Josh Giddey is highly unlikely to be moved this offseason, but he is going to be evaluated long-term, just like everybody else on this roster, as Bryson Graham and Thiago Splitter figure out what exactly they want to forge going forward. And that's just the reality of it, right? Interest from teams doesn't mean that they're shopping him, and we'll see what's going to happen in regards to that. I do think that fans have taken the slap philosophy a little too much as an edict that you can't go outside of, when Bryson Graham has already said that that's not the case here for the Chicago Bulls. But with the size, the rebounding, the playmaking, the transition creation, the half-court creation that Josh Giddey does bring, the defensive limitations could end up being a question there, right? And that's just the reality of it. And, again, that's to be fair to both sides of this argument when you have it. And we'll see. Evaluation does not mean wanting them gone either. And that's the key point in this. Right now, anybody who's telling you they know for sure what the Bulls are going to do with Josh Giddey are capping, because nobody knows for sure. Now, in the short term, they're not shopping him. I can guarantee you that. In the long term, though, that's where the difference could be made at. And we'll see what the Chicago Bulls do with that one. But moving on from that, we are one day before the NBA draft. Now, I was going to do it today, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off because I'm going to wait to see if there's any more. That'll literally be tomorrow's episode. I will do my, not predictions. I'm not going to predict who the Bulls are going to draft, but I'm going to do my final favorite 4-man draft for the Chicago Bulls. 4-man draft. We're going to go picks 4, 15, 38, 56, who my favorite players are at each one of those picks, and that's going to be my Bulls 2026 favorite draft class. But on today's episode, I want to talk about more sleepers that could pop up in different places for the Chicago Bulls in this upcoming draft. Now, again, this is not a prediction of this is the players that the Bulls are going to draft. It's more so like we talked about with everything. What players could stand out? One of the players, and this is a player that the Bulls did work out, is Bennett Stirtz. And this would have to probably be a pick at number 15 if the Bulls were to draft him. And, we have heard that they do want to go guard. So we have heard some stuff like that, which could play into the case of the Bulls could look at that. But seems like the Bulls are kind of going more athletic scoring kind of focus with the guards rather than even really looking at just like the defensive side of the ball. But we'll see. But Bennett Stirtz is an interesting player. Out of Iowa, 6'4", 190 pounds as well. When you look at him over the course, he had a career in Division II before transferring to Drake, where he did establish himself as one of the best guards in college basketball. So he has done that as well. What he brings to the court: perimeter scoring. He's a playmaker in the pick and roll. He can score at all 3 levels as well. Right now, I know my boy Altvon, not Savon. Altvon is going to trip because Bennett Stirtz is another white player, and some people are just really weird about that. I never get it. But the guy also understands how to score off ball. He has a really good feel for the game as well. Some of the concerns about him: not the greatest athlete. He doesn't deal with physicality the best, right? And his defensive ceiling isn't the best there either, right? And this is another guy that I do think his age is going to come to him. He's a lot older than other players in this draft, which could lead you to a place to where, again, you bet younger, even though some players may not be as well-rounded or polished as him right now. You may want to lean their upside in regards to that rather than go a player that's the age of Bennett Stirtz, but somebody that averaged 19.8 points per game. He was right there with the same scoring as Caleb Wilson. He shot 37% from the three-point line in Drake and Iowa combined, so it's 2 years in D1, and 48% from the field as well as that. Also, averaged 19 points in both seasons, 5 rebounds for his collegiate career as well, 3.4 rebounds, and also 1.7 assists. He had one season of averaging 1.7 steals, and he had one season of averaging 2 steals per game as well. So Bennett Stirtz, or Stirtz, I believe is how you pronounce it, because my brain puts the R before the I when actually it's after the I. Nonetheless, he's definitely a sleeper in this draft and one that could be on the Bulls board depending on what they're looking for at that guard position. Another player, and this is a player that we talked about earlier before, and that's Ebuka Okorie. Now, we do know that the Chicago Bulls have flirted with some interest with him with a pre-draft workout if you want to register that as straight up interest. But this is another guy that has tremendous upside when you look at it coming out of Stanford as well. And it's the scoring upside that this guy provides to a team who is 8th in the entire nation in scoring last year as a freshman. Now, he's undersized at 6'2", 185 pounds. He did average 23 points. He averaged 3.6 assists, 3.6 rebounds, 1.6 steals per game as well. He shot 35% from 3 and 46% overall from the field. But this is another guy that has the elite ability to get downhill as a scorer. He has really good speed, one of the fastest players in this draft as well. And he can provide that offensive punch coming off the bench. Now, my problem is I don't know if I see Okorie being a starter for sure. Now, he can definitely develop into that, right? But his size, the defense, and the playmaking are a really big concern for me. He's high risk, high reward kind of option here in this draft. And, with players just having more kind of safe zones, high floor, maybe even with a lower ceiling, I think you got to look at him and say, there's somebody that the Bulls could definitely be interested in. I just think that, when you, especially because he's going to go around that fit, like the Bulls would have to take him at 15. He's probably not going to be somebody that's there any lower than that. And so, there's probably more safer bets in regards to that. But some people could say, why play it safe? Go for the upside and see where you're going to get an upside, and that's fair. Another player that's a sleeper in this that a lot of people have talked about recently, and that's Allen Graves out of Santa Clara. And this is a guy that has really good two-way upside. He only started 4 games last season in Santa Clara, which I know for some Bulls fans is instantly going to bring up some PTSD and trauma to draft somebody who wasn't an everyday starter. He played 35 games. He only started 4 of those, but he did average 11.8 points per game. He did that on 51% shooting from the field, 41% shooting from 3, 6.5 rebounds coming off the bench in 22 minutes, 1.9 steals. This is a guy that I think you got to look at, especially if you do, and the thing is, though, I don't know if you go Allen Graves, if you get Caleb Wilson or Cam Boozer. That's just, I just don't project that to be what they do. Again, I could completely be wrong on that. But Allen Graves is somebody that definitely stands out, that having some really good ability on this team. He has some really good strengths, right? He's mature in the way that he goes about the game, which is really good to see in regards to that one. He knows how to make plays. He's a connective player as well. His touch on the interior is excellent. And at 6'8", 226 pounds, this guy brings some very good forward vibes that you need. He has really good defensive awareness and versatility. He can guard multiple positions. He is going to be a really damn good team defender. I don't know how much he's going to be an amazing one-on-one defender, but in that, he uses his frame. He reacts well. He's going to be a really good team defender, and his off-ball instincts are really good also. His shooting mechanics need some work, and that's why he doesn't shoot on volume. But I think the percentages show that if you can get those shooting mechanics down, he may have more scoring upside than a lot of people give him credit for. Not the greatest vertical athlete, and he has trouble with foul trouble, and because of the school he went to, he didn't consistently face off against high-level competition in college, and that's where some people feel like his stats could be a little bit inflated, right? And that athletic testing does raise some concerns about him, but I do think he can become a modern, solid role player. But if you want to take that at 15, where you can get some starter projected players, that's the question there. Next up, Tarris Reed. I think that this kid I think he's great. 7'4" wingspan, averaging 14.7 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks per game. the interior presence that he brings as well is just amazing to see in regards to that. He does have limited shooting range, and also his defensive mobility isn't like a Morez Johnson. Like Morez, at being a little bit undersized as a center, is somebody that I think can still switch out. I don't know if Tarris Reed is going to be that switchable, but he is one of my favorite players in this draft. I think you would have to draft him at 15. Originally, he was slated to go more towards the second round. We'll see, but he is somebody that I think you got to look at and say, there's definitely potential here, and definitely potential that the Bulls should look at to see if they can extract and what they can turn him into, because I really like the kid's talent. And, if let's say that all your center prospects are off the board, Morez off the board, these guys, I would seriously, if I'm the Chicago Bulls, do you consider just reaching and taking him? If you just want a center and want one of the better center prospects in this draft, Trayvon Brazile leads me to say no. I kind of rather just bet on Trayvon Brazile at pick number 38 if you can feel like you can get him. But Tarris Reed is somebody that I do really like in this draft, and I think has tremendous upside, brings the physicality, the rebounding, and the rim protection that you need. The 2 blocks per game that he averaged, that's probably going to translate to the NBA level, and I like that a lot. Next up, Richie Saunders at pick number 38. Now, this is one of the classes, one of the best shooting specialists. Now, second round, if you're taking somebody who just projects to be a shooting specialist, much like I talked about with Keyshawn Hall yesterday, it's somebody that I would definitely take a shot at in that second round, but later in the second round. The question is he going to fall low enough for 38? This isn't a draft board prediction, right? But it is same players that you can look out for that could be. And in the second round, you do see reaches. This guy that averaged 18 points per game last year, 5.8 rebounds, 2 assists on 48% shooting and 37% shooting from the field, which was his second highest. He shot the ball 43% from three-point range his third year at BYU. This is a kid that has a lot of upside that I feel like. But again, it's mainly just as a scorer. His defensive concerns, all that. He did tear his ACL before also, and the defensive limitations is why he could drop in this draft despite what he can score. But that shooting, and he can it's about finding value at every level. Richie Saunders would provide value in the second round, especially if he's there at pick number 56. And I think that that's a player that you definitely have to look out for as well. So that's what I got. What I have here as far as more sleepers in this draft. We'll take a look at tomorrow. Like I said, my final 4-player draft board for the Chicago Bulls, and we'll see what's going to happen with that one. Next topic before we get out of here, what are the Bulls going to do with the guard position, right? The Bulls are likely to draft forward at number 4. It comes down to either big or guard at pick number 15, right? And if you get to like Ryan Conwell, who I think could be on the board for the Bulls at pick number 38, if you go big with your second first-round pick, Ryan Conwell is still somebody that may not eventually be an NBA starter, but still be a high-level rotation player. So then it brings the question on, are the Bulls going to bring in a veteran guard, whether it is to play a supplemental role off the bench or start while the guard that you drafted, you develop and kind of bring along more slowly, right? It really depends. I think if you draft somebody at number 15, there's a high chance they're probably going to give it a chance for them to earn a starting role, but you want to bring in competition, right? And many people have asked, could Collin Sexton or Anfernee Simons return to the team? And I'll say this. Both players are unrestricted free agents, so they would have to want to return to the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls hold no matching rights, no anything rights on them. Those guys are unrestricted free agents. I do think Collin Sexton and the role that he played for the Bulls, coming off the bench, providing some leadership, is something I would be interested to bring back depending on what we do. And like if we go Cameron Carr, if somehow Cameron Carr is there for us at pick number 15, I would love to bring Collin Sexton back as a scoring punch off the bench for a 1 or 2 year deal. Not anything long-term, but a 1 or 2 year reasonable contract for the Chicago Bulls. Anfernee Simons, I still think is going to be somebody that goes. When you look at like what CJ McCollum got paid and all that type of stuff, I think Anfernee Simons is going to want to go to a contender, but there's an option there. But there's a different player that you can look at in regards to this as well. And I want to talk about Quentin Grimes. I know people are going to say Ayo Dosunmu. We've talked about the Ayo thing ad nauseum. I don't think Ayo is going to come back to the Chicago Bulls again. If he does, I love it. I just don't want the Bulls fans to put all their eggs in Ayo Dosunmu coming back to the Bulls. Quentin Grimes is a realistic alternative. He took the qualifying offer to return to the 76ers last season. When you take the qualifying offer for a team, players rarely return to that team after the qualifying offer. He brings shooting, he brings physical defense, and he brings some veteran stability as well to this roster. Why not being far off the age timeline in regards to that? You also can look at it and say that he can look at this situation for the Bulls and say, listen, I can revamp my value. Let me sign a 2-year deal. Let me help these young guys for a couple of years. And then after that, I'm still technically in my prime, get back out on the market, and I can sign a much larger deal if I prove myself in those regards. Now, one could say like 26-year-old, he had a solid season last year. 13 points per game while only starting 19 games. He played in 75, so, one of his healthier seasons that he's had in the NBA. 45% shooting from the field, 33% shooting from three, with 3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, right under steal per game, 0.9, so right under steal per game, which is right around his averages, and only 1.8 turnovers. He doesn't turn the ball over. Quentin Grimes is just a really solid player that you can fit into just about any system. He's a system player, and I don't mean that to slight, but I do think Quentin Grimes is somebody that the Bulls could look at to provide a higher floor as far as what you have from your role players and then figure out the rest later. So Quentin Grimes is somebody that I do think the Bulls could take an interest in free agency this year. We just got to see if he fits and what the Bulls do. So much of this is going to become clear after the draft tomorrow, and then we'll talk about kind of more in depth what the Bulls could do in regards to that. Now, we have one voicemail that I want to get into. This one is from Corn. Let's go ahead and play that now.
What's the word, King Drip? It's your brother Corn. Let's get right into this shit right now. Now, love the series you've been doing. Facts of Cat. Love the other series that you've been doing, your Gene 3. Now, since you did yours, I feel like I should share mine. Now, remember, it's my dream. Not yours, not anybody else's. My Dream 3. So, and like I said, it's just a dream. Number 4, Darren Peterson. If Darren Peterson falls to us, to whoever, KC, that could be a motherfucking nightmare. To me, that will be the dreams of dreams coming true. When Kendrick Perkins said his floor is Bradley Beal, but his ceiling is Kobe Bryant, enough said. Our first pick, number 15. If he falls to us, Cameron Carr. My God. My God. What else should I say about that young man, right? Straight monster, straight beast, do what he does. But my first pick in the second round, to me, is the special one, the most important one. My second round pick at number 38, I am picking Luigi Sangu out of Italy. Already been speaking on him. That's my guy I want at the second pick. That's that's a master splitter guy. That is a master splitter guy. I'm telling you, we got splitter. That will be the perfect center. 7'3", 7'5", 0.5 wingspan, face up, jumper, ball defender. If you look at his tape, like I tell a lot of people, the first thing you see him doing is blocking the projected number 1 pick, AJ as. If you know, you know. But that's my Dream 3. Love you, King Drip. Love the series, man. You know I'm always going to be watching, man. Hey, man, ain't it good? It feels good to be a Bulls fan. It just feels good to be a Bulls fan right now, man. It really do, man. See, Red.
I think that, Darren Peterson, Cameron Carr, and you have Luigi. Now, I do want to point out this. Luigi actually withdrew from the NBA draft last week at the 13th, I believe. He's not going to be in this draft, so he's not an option for the Chicago Bulls in round 2. I just wanted to point that out. But drafting Carr and Peterson would bring a little bit of complication to your wing. Like, I do think Cameron Carr can play the 3, which is fine. Peterson at your 2, Carr at your 3, Modest at the 4. I do think Modest kind of best position may eventually be 3, though, but we'll see, right? Again, it's a good problem to have. You bring in the talent, you figure it out. But again, Luigi Suugo is out of the draft. He withdrew from this draft, brother. He's not in it, so that part can't happen. But other than that, I like where you went with that. If you want to call in tomorrow, I'll play your voicemail if you want to give a revamped 3 since Luigi's not in this. And as a matter of fact, because we're going to be doing tomorrow's going to be my final 4 kind of draft board for the Chicago Bulls. I'd love to hear from any of you guys if you want to bring in yours, and I'll try to play, and we can make tomorrow's episode like a de facto mailbag before the draft class. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about Josh Giddey and his future here in Chicago? Who do you think are some sleepers that could be on the Chicago Bulls board? And then what do the Bulls do with the veteran shooting guard position? Do you want to see them bring back Collin, Sexton, or Anfernee Simons within reason? Or do you think a guy like Quentin Grimes or somebody else on the market could fit the Chicago Bulls? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation